Hey guys, how's it going? Squad version 11 just went live, so let's take a good look at it. My last squad video with Squad in Trouble happened in the middle of a wave of feedback from players to OWI about version 10. I want to acknowledge and thank all those who commented on the video and the Reddit post for sharing such constructive feedback. Communication between OWI and players seems to have been great in the lead up to version 11, but the proof is in the pudding. So let's leave version 10 behind, take a look at what they've given us in this new update. After 4 days of playing the public test, I am hyped. The gunplay is vastly improved. The frame rate performance is better. The hit registration feels better. On top of all that, we've a new faction, new sites, new weapons, new vehicles, a new map, and a ton of new map layers. The biggest critique of version 10 was the quality and enjoyability of the gameplay. I'm going to lump frame rate performance and hit detection in with that, because I feel they're fundamentals of the gameplay too. So let's start there. Sway and recoil has been reduced a bit in almost every circumstance, and animation transition speeds feel generally a touch faster. It's amazing how the changes are relatively small, but they have had a massive impact on gunplay, and that's had a huge impact on gameplay. The changes with the prone speeds especially. Going from prone is just fast enough to get you out of trouble most of the time if you suddenly come under fire and you're already positioned to take cover. And standing up from prone is just slow enough to make you feel vulnerable if you choose to stand up at the wrong moment. Version 11 is still alpha, and these things may receive more tweaking before the final release, but already generally things are starting to feel really nicely balanced. I no longer feel like I'm fighting against my player. It's like he's 30 years younger, he's energetic, he's ready for action. The changes have made moving around viable again, but it's obviously no run and gun shooter. The odds are still in favour of a well positioned team working together. But because everyone is free to move around, there's also a lot less constant fear of people camping around you in bushes. The one instance where sway seems to be a bit strong is when you move while prone while aiming down sights. On the one hand, I quite like it as a deterrent to camping, but it feels a bit out of sync with the rest of the new gunplay mechanics and could be reduced a little to be more in keeping. The impact these changes have had on the AAS game mode is huge. With the fob timer bug fixed in the later release of version 10, I'd go so far as to say AAS is fixed without any need for changes. But they did make changes to the ticket bleed. Now we have a new AAS that seems to work better than it ever did. The ticket bleed for the middle flags has been reduced while keeping the mercy bleed for the final flag. When I played this game on screen now, I didn't think for a second I'd use its footage, because I spent half the game making mistake after mistake with the logi. The reason it's in here is because we were winning in relation to flag count the whole game, but we lost the match because of those mistakes. Not only could we not get a fob down to help us catch castle, we lost the game by 12 tickets they got from destroying our logis. At this early stage of play in version 11, 12 ticket win without the majority of flags because of fundamental mistakes by the opposition seems both fair and a great motivator for teams to focus on not making game losing mistakes for the entire round. No game I played on version 11 has been won in the first 5 minutes. Other game modes have received some love too. The test version of Territory Control was in the public test. I don't know if it was fixed or included in the version 11 release, but the release did include around 16 new and overhauled map layers. I was surprised to see Invasion and Conquest on so many of the servers during the test. I don't know whether the game modes have been tweaked or the gunplay changes have also had a positive effect on these game modes, but I do know I really enjoy playing them. My first impression is that both these game modes are now far more viable than they were even in version 9. Sticking to the subject of gameplay for the moment, this is the most PC friendly version of Squad I've played by a long way. Mouse sensitivity settings are much more customizable. Now you can adjust your sensitivities for aim down sights, 4x scopes and vehicle aiming both generally and in zoom. Make it possible to adjust the 2x separately from the aim down sights and you'd have the full works. These additions were desperately needed, and although a relatively small change, it's a huge improvement to playability in my eyes. On-screen names have also been tweaked, smaller by default. You have the option to customise its size, opacity and include their role icon. One size doesn't fit all, and customizability is half the beauty of PC gaming. The other big focus of the feedback about version 10 was performance. I'm extremely happy to be able to tell you that one taps are back. I don't know if this is down to improved performance on the server side or not, but frankly I don't care. I'm just so happy to see the quality of hit detection back in this game. I'm hearing lots of reports of improved frame rates for people. I've had a couple of moments where my frame rate dropped to around 20 on the new Kohat in the middle of big battles, but it's generally been around 30 and 40, occasionally exceeding 60. This is still slightly below the version 9 performance I had, but it's certainly a big improvement over version 10. When comparing version 11 to the critiques of version 10, it looks great, but we haven't even looked at the big shiny new additions yet. The British are in. We've known they've been in development for quite a while, and they're finally here, and they bring with them a full arsenal of kit, new weapons and new vehicles. The thing that surprised a lot of people I spoke to was that they have scopes on nearly all of their weapons. The Russians also have the new red dot equivalent, making distant engagements more enjoyable, more viable and more like Project Reality. It's helped to balance out the factions a bit, except the insurgents, but we'll get to them shortly. New map, Kamdesh, is in. My first impressions are that it looks pretty good, although it doesn't have the wow factor of a massive city or something like that. The gameplay on it is really good. The small infantry UK versus US version has been continuously used for Seedon, and it's a great map for it. With the British and on Kamdesh came the new warrior vehicle, and for the US the Bradley. I'm informed that they're not tanks. They're light armoured fighting vehicles, apparently. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about the real life vehicles or their specific roles or capabilities, but I can tell you that in squad they are formidable opponents. So far there seems to be a decent level of balance between them in relation to opposition infantry, though hearing the deep thuds of one of these things when you're on the other side makes you a little bit nervous. They seem to be kept pretty busy by the opposition vehicles. Never have I seen a BTR 30mm crew look quite so nervous. Talking of crews, crewman role is in the game. That means if you want to drive or gun on any of the APCs and IFVs, then you need to have the right kit. In terms of vehicle balance in the Warrior and Bradleys, when we played on the extended Kohat, also new with version 11, we took out both Bradleys, expecting to cause some serious damage. The first one was taken out within seconds when it got hit by a heavy anti-tank. Our one survived a bit longer, but in confrontation with the BTR and a heavy anti-tank, it lost pretty hard. I was trying to find a better spot to park, but I should have never got out of the driver's seat. They aren't strong enough to just leave sitting around. But just in case there were still any concerns about overpowered vehicles, they've introduced the tow missiles. These things are lethal one-hit kills to all vehicles, and they fly exactly where you point them. The Bradley and Warrior vehicles have them mounted on board, and they're deployables for at least the US and the UK. Not sure about the other factions, I presume it includes the Russians too. I think the new dynamics around the vehicle warfare are going to give the vets something really juicy to sink their teeth into. The new insurgents models are in, another thing we've known has been in development for quite a while. They look much better, they've got more camouflage to them, making them harder to spot. That's a good thing if you're on the insurgent side at least. The new armour vehicles are in too. There's some question about the balance of this faction when it comes to going up against the US and the UK, for example. It's pretty realistic, but potentially not a lot of fun for those on the insurgent side. While I was researching what a tow missile is, I happened to see a video of some Syrian rebels firing a tow missile at a Russian tank. I don't want to get too political now about where they might have got such a weapon, but it did raise a question in my mind about possibly balancing the insurgents and militia forces with these type of weapons. But that might be a very political topic, so I'm just going to move right along. On a much lighter note, the knife melee weapon is in for all factions. Find me one person who plays first-person shooters and doesn't love getting a melee kill. I've had a couple, but none full live game yet. I'm working on it. The graphics have received some attention, and it was needed after the necessary ban of reshade. Apparently there's an additional sharper in there. There's been some general fixing on old maps like Albazia and Gorodok. There seems to be an increase on contrast in lots of the maps. I found I can play the game with minimal tweaks to my graphics setting, which is a welcome change. All of the critiques that were raised about version 10 have been addressed, and most of what version 11 delivers does an excellent job of moving those things in a great direction. I think it's worthy of the praise I've lavished on it. But there's one fundamental gameplay area of the game that I still think requires work, and that's the colours in relation to their contrast, depth and pop. The patch notes state the tweaks they've made, but they don't claim to be the new shaders, which we were told were being worked on, so I'm hopeful there's already a lot of work going on to address this. Lastly, I did it in my last video, so let's do the same now. Take a quick look at the concurrent player numbers. There was a massive amount of hype around version 10. I won't be surprised at all if we don't see the same sort of numbers straight away with version 11. I think OWI has done the smart thing and they've not built the hype up so much. They've just made a great update knowing that we're all eager and waiting to play it. I think it's going to be a slow burner. Version 11 is a player's update. We've got all the fancy extras from version 10 and a far more accessible and enjoyable game. Final verdict, great update. If you're put off by version 10, it's definitely worth coming back and giving version 11 a go. For now, hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next time.